Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you had a great lunch. Today we will be talking about event characteristics. Let me share my slides first. Before we start, I need all of you to bring your diaries, the secret diaries you have, the coaching diaries. So we're gonna have some uh, maths in the end of the session. Do you see my presentation on your screen?
Yes, yes,
Yeah. Okay. First of all, I need to bring out. I'll give you some time to bring out your diaries, your coaching diaries, in which you uh, write timings, training plans. So because we're gonna have some good mathematics in the end of this presentation, so that's how you will know about your athletes individualization. So bring out your diaries. I'll give you a 1 minute. Bring out your diaries and we can have some maths with that. Every coach have that diary, right? Okay. Let's proceed with the lecture. Okay, we start with the introduction. Athletic performance optimization that enhances an athlete's performance, focusing on increasing coordination, endurance, flexibility, speed, strength through a comprehensive approach includes a comprehensive training plan. That's what we are trying to do over here. It is essential for athletes to train specifically for the demand of their chosen event, focusing on developing the necessary physical attributes and improving their event characteristics. So uh, if you need to train a 100-meter athlete, you need to do work on his speed. And if you are working with the throwers, it's important that you deal with their power as well. But the thing is, uh, these are the performance determining characteristics, but it varies according to your, how we can say, uh, body type, even specifications, and that is what we are discussing today. We have two examples. We have a marathon runner and we have a short putter. They both need strength, endurance, speed, flexibility, coordination, but how much? That's the question. For a short putter, strength, speed, flexibility, coordination is important. For a marathon runner, they might be less important, but when you see the endurance part, it's the most important thing a marathon runner would need. So we need to know these 5 characteristics that are important to in any event. And once again, there is no one exercise that only uh, take care of only one part. That is, everything is interrelated. Everything. You can do maximum strength when you are doing maximum strength, and you're doing with speed. It will take you to say, let's elastic strength, that is speed strength. So everything is related, but you need to know what your athlete needs most. We start with the first characteristic, that is coordination. which is required in each and every event. The ability to carry out complicated movements. These movements also include your neuromuscular system. Now let's see, you need to throw a javelin. It's very important that your chaining is right. The force did not come just from your hands. It starts from your toes of the feet to the fingers of your hand. So the thing that makes the chaining best is the coordination. So this is the part you need to work on when you planning a training. This is very important that you work on your athlete's coordination. Yes, this skill can be improved through training, and that's what we are trying to do. Number 2, endurance. Basically, endurance is the ability of a muscle to contract and relax. For a short putter, the endurance is different, and for a marathon runner, the endurance is different, as we have mentioned earlier. So it is very important that you know how much endurance do you need for your athlete. Yes, let's say we are talking about 100-meter. So we need some part of speed endurance, an aerobic lactate energy system, which we will discuss later in this presentation in depth. And for a 400-meter, we all know that it's a killing event. The energy, the density, the intensity it requires is phenomenal. And yes, we're going to discuss this in the later stages of this presentation. This is a very basic graph. There are 3 energy systems, and the percentage is very important. You need to learn this percentage so you can train your athlete according to this percentage. Let's say we have a 400-meter, so we have 3 energy systems, which we will learn later. And yes, this is the part a coach should know, that how much training time and percentage should I put in an athlete for training a certain energy system. We're going to learn how to train energy systems today. Next is flexibility, range of motion. Thomas added one important thing in a question from, I guess, someone from Malaysia asked about this. He added that before doing Olympic snatch or any power training, do not use flexibility. Our muscles are like, let's say, rubber bands, right? So if you keep on stretching, it will make them weak for a very, very short period of time. And before they recover, if you do an Olympic snatch or any power training, it might end up in injury. So it is very important that when you are going for a power training, the stretching is entirely different. Okay, a measure of the ability of a muscle, of a tendon, that's a science we need to know, to elongate within the physical restrictions of the joint. Yes, it decreases with age, but it can be improved by appropriate stretching. Next attribute is speed. We need maximal speed. We always use this word maximal. Yes, in 100-meter, we do have that portion when we gain maximum speed, but still it is maximal. I'm gonna tell you about that as well. That is the optimal speed. That is the speed in which you can transfer your motion into something else. Suppose you are sitting on a blocks and the gun goes on, and you need to transfer your speed into your stride length and frequency. And more appropriately, when you're doing a long jump, if you go all out for the board, you will not be able to convert a best jump. You need to have an optimal speed to convert from horizontal velocity to the vertical velocity. So we always use optimal speed. We need, as a coach, we need to understand this. And yes, acceleration, rate of change of speed is the acceleration. In speed, another important part is the reaction time. It is how you react to stimulus, any stimulus. It could be a gunfire when doing a 100-meter race. So when the gun fires, you have to react. This is only possible when you have a very strong neuromuscular system. And to train that, you have to do this over and over and over again. Because when the gun fires, you hear it from your ear, then your brains process it, then your central nervous systems tell your legs to start pushing the blocks. So the better your neuromuscular system is, the quicker your reaction time will be, and it will make things better. And yes, this is the part we all need to know. Strength. Strength is required for each and every event. As you can see in the picture, if we have a good view of that, look at the athlete. He's a 100-meter athlete. Look at the vertical jump he's taking. He's off the ground. Maybe more than 5.5 feet, maybe 6. So this is how much strength is required in each and every athletic events. The ability to exert maximal force during high speed, and very important that you know your strength when you are at high speed. This is where most injuries happen. You are not strong enough to put that force onto something, and then in return you get different kind of injuries, mostly in running, mostly in sprinting. Too much force on the ground, and in return you get a hamstring injury or something like that. Yes, strength endurance, the capacity to maintain the quality of a muscle contractile motion. You when doing let's say a long distance running, the muscles are consistently contracting and relaxing. So the ability to maintain that quality of muscles is strength endurance that we need for running as well. Reactive, this is the part we that was discussed in the previous course. This is basically plyometric training. Plyometric training is a reactive strength. You train your muscles and it becomes your muscle memory, and also you train your neuromuscular system. that makes this happen. Okay, now we know these basic characteristics which are important, but you need to know that every individual is unique and different. They came from a different background, their developmental age is different, the training age is different. So every individual will have a different strength, different speed, different flexibility, and different way to improve it. As a coach, you need to uh, take one individual as one unit. So this is what I always say to everyone: you cannot copy a training program. You cannot have someone else training program. Don't use uh, senior coaches training program. Do not copy that training program to your junior athletes or your in colleges and in schools. Don't do that. You need to understand things first, then you can make your own program. That's what you're going to do today. Each athlete must have his own individual training program. Yes, that's what I'm saying. And there is another very important part that makes an individual different from others is the body type. There are three major body types, that is endomorphs, mesomorphs, and ectomorphs. But all good athletes are the combination of two. They're all mesomorphs at first. Then, according to the events, they can have some part of endomorph, mesomorph, and ectomorph. For example, if we look at the throwers, look at the weight, look at the size of those throwers, but the force they generate in a very small amount of time is pretty impressive. So without a mesomorph body, you cannot generate that force. Same with the high jumpers. They look like ectomorphs, but the force they generate from their leg to cross that bar, we all know that that's need a lot of force, lot of muscular strength to do that. These are the it's a very basic graph. It has some percentages of an individual's for a marathon. Body fat is 5 to 9. They try to have 5 to 6 for the competitions. For females, it's 8 to 12. For running events, it's now look at the field events. The females which have a 20% of the body fat, mostly short putters, they look quite bulky, but actually they have lots of force to put into that shot. Okay, obviously prolonged events, longer events, when you have to carry your body with you, it's difficult to have excessive fat that you need to carry. So excessive body fat decreases performance. More energy is required for a heavier person. For example, we have a marathon. They have to run for a very long time, so they need to have a very lean body. Two individuals with 75 kg of weight, one is lean body and the other is 68 kg of lean and 7 kg of excessive fat, that will not help him perform good. So you need to consider this as well when you are training, especially when you're dealing with college athletes or university athletes. So it's very important with the beginners. With the pro athletes, they are already in their shape, but obviously when they are in a transition phase or a pre-season phase, maybe they have gained some fat. This is what you need to consider as a coach as well. Two individuals with the same body fat, but with different fitness levels. That brings us to the specificity of the training program. You have to train specifically according to your event. That part should be trainable, not something that is not trainable. You will not ask your shot putter to do a somersault or something like that. So this is the part you need to know, which is important. Okay, let's move on. Yes, performing limiting factors are important. You can start when you are putting load on your athlete. You can start with his personal best. There are lots of research and lots of methods to find your personal best, especially in the gym. You do a 1 rep, and you can train on the 80% of that load we already discussed in the previous seminar, in the strength and conditioning seminar. Okay, now important things to know. You need to train according to your needs. Number one, everybody knows that strength training will improve your muscle capacity and endurance training will improve your lungs capacity. But as an athletics coach, we need to be more specific. Which exercise have the highest carryover in your event? That's what you need to ask yourself. Let me give you an example of two different sports. On one hand, we have cycling, and on the other hand, we have swimming. When we do, let's say, 20 kilometer, 30 kilometer cycling, it will improve our lungs capacity. And when we do swimming 1000 meters, it also improves our lungs capacity. But the thing is, can we train a swimmer with cycling or a cyclist with swimming? Because when we are doing swimming, we use our hands, right? And our knees are locked when we move our legs. And when we are doing cycling, our hands are quite stable, still, and there is a movement, a cyclic movement on our knees. So it will not be a beneficial exercise for a swimmer to do the cycling or for a cyclist to do the swimming. So you need to know what exercise has the highest carryover for your event, for your athlete. So that is why I always say that sports science is very complex. There is a lot more to train just muscles. As a coach, we should know there is a lot more to train just muscles. We need to train our energy systems. And today, we're going to learn that. We're going to learn how to train our energy systems. Now, the question arises, why we need all this? What kind of training plan that helps our athletes to perform? Where to start? Why no improvement in my athlete? Why is the performance dropping? These are the all questions we as a coach always think. Now, the answer is very simple. To start with, it's very simple. And when you move to pro athletes, yes, it does turn into a much complicated. But first of all, as a coach, you should know the requirement of your athlete and the energy system he she depends on. which we will learn in this presentation. If you are prioritizing the wrong energy system, you will not get results. So that is why I always say this is very important. Okay, moving on to the introduction of the energy systems. It's very important for you to know these three basic energy systems so you can use the right energy system for the right athlete. Number one, first you need to know that we need ATP in our muscles to be used as an energy. When simplifying this, is like a currency in our body. It makes us going. It's like a fuel in your car that makes the system going. Now there are three major factories that basically providing that fuel to the body, providing the ATP to the body, to the muscles, and our muscles use that energy and they work. Now, the first system is very basic. We all know about it. Is ATP-CP phosphogenation system. We have a stored ATP in our muscle.
Masa sih.
Yes, Warden. Okay. So, okay, wait. I guess we have a question. No. Okay, moving on to the energy system. We don't need to get into deep into what is happening in the muscle, but the important part is this system provide you energy for 15 seconds, but it does not mean that it's there whole time putting all things in for 15 seconds. No, it's not like that. The best, the max, the top thing the energy system gives you is max 6 seconds of your maximal effort. And we cannot forget that besides this energy system, we have, let's say, oxygen coming from our lungs. Without the oxygen coming from our lungs, this process, basically in ATP system, no oxygen is required. Okay, but when we move on, the oxygen is required, but it does not mean that from the very beginning there is one system that's working without oxygen and you stop taking oxygen as a whole from your lungs. No, it's not like that. All energy systems work together. The first ATP system is faster to generate energy. The second system is slower than that. And the third is even slower than that to produce that ATP. So all three systems start together, but for producing that ATP, the ATP-CP system, the phosphogenation system, is the fastest. Now, the next system is very important for the athletes who are, let's say, doing even 100 meters as well, 200 meters, 400 meters, 800 meters, yes, even 1500 meters, and even longer events. It's very important to learn the anaerobic lactate system. This system provides you energy up to 2 minutes but the maximum, the best part, when the system is working at the highest capacity, it's only 30 to 40 minutes. Oh, sorry, seconds, 30 to 40 seconds only. Now, there are two things. We have glucose in our muscles. Our energy system use that to produce ATP. And then we have some glucose stored in our liver, which obviously takes a longer time to come in the muscles to generate force. So we need to train this system specifically to waste less time on the transport system we have in our body. And lastly, we have aerobic system, oxidative system. Yes, without that, we cannot do longer distances like 5 kilometers, 10,000 meters, marathons, road races. We cannot do anything without this aerobic system. It completely depends on your the oxygen and the food we have in the liver. Okay, consider this as three factories. Three factories working together to make this ATP. Three factories, but the first factory is faster, so it provides you energy at a very early stage. And then the second factory comes in and gives you some fuel to do your work. And then if you keep on moving, we have a third oxidative factory, which provides you until you take rest. It's not like that one factory shutdowns first and then second kicks in and third comes in. No, it's not like that. They all start together, but the process is fast for the first, then the second, then the third. We can see this in this graph. The green part is the first factory. Now, as you can see, it takes some time to be there, but look at the high part. This is the high part where its performance is at best. So let's see, we are running a 100-meter race, and up to 30 meters, we are gaining speed, and let's say after 20 meters, we have a max factory output energy, and from 20 to, let's say, 40 meters or 50 meters, maybe for more elite athletes up to 80 meters, they produce a very high energy, a very high speed, and we all know that that's the best maximum speed of a sprinter in this phase. At the same times, our second energy system is also working, and yes, it takes time to kick in the energy, and before that the 100-meter is already over. For the 200-meter, yes, it is important. Less important for the 400-meter, it is very important, and so on. In the graph, in the table on the right, the first system produces 10 ATPs. 10 ATPs in 1 second. Sorry, in 1 minute. In 1 minute, right? And on the other hand, our other systems produces 5 in 2 to 3 minutes, 2.5 into 36, 40 minutes, and 1.5 the last, very late. So it's important to train first two energy systems so we can have better results. We have a video from the e-learning platform. Okay.
During sprinting events of 100 meters, you have a typical combination of free energy energy to the body system and energy to the anaerobic, and in part, the aerobic energy system.
Going well on the far side, and now Justin Gatlin coming through with Mighty closing in as well.
So as you can see, all the energy systems work together to put that 100-meter in place. This is the detailed chart from World Athletics, that how much percentage of each energy system is required for the events. You need to know this. Most of us, we already know this. We are working on this. We plan our training according to this chart. If it says 80% of the 30 meters, if we are training for 30 meters, let's suppose we will be working on only one system, and that is ATP-CP. We need to train this system. And if we go on to the 100 meters, the 70% of the training should be focused on anaerobic lactate system, and 25% of ATP-CP, and 5% on the aerobic as well. In the past, we don't train 100-meter athletes for aerobic capacity, but today it is important that after 80 meters, we do need some aerobic capacity to help our athletes to perform a much better time. And 400 meter, we already have discussed that for a 400 meter runner, it's less important to work on ATP, but yes, it is important. But the two most important energy systems we need to train him is anaerobic lactate and aerobic system. And when we move on to the 3000 meters, 5000 meter, 10,000 meter marathons, this block is important. Aerobic capacity is important. Okay, which brings us to a very important part of this presentation, which we are going to train. We gonna learn how to train our Cori cycle. Now, what is this? What is Cori cycle? Usually, the common term we use in our athletics is lactate threshold, that there is a lactic acid in our muscles that making us dull, slow, and making things difficult for us, right? And if we can learn how to delay that threshold, it would be great for us and for athletes in the performance. Now, the problem in the Cori cycle is the lactate in the blood helps to produce glucose in the liver, but the lactate is produced in the muscles. It should be transferred to our livers to be converted into the glucose and then back to our muscles. If we do high intensity training or high intensity competition or any activity that is beyond our capacity, the production of lactate is too high in the muscle, which makes us slow. Let's say our Cori cycle is really fast. There is a lactate produced in the muscle, and bam, it goes to the liver, comes back to the muscle, and this system is really fast that it will not let stack that lactate in our muscles. If this happens, we will have a phenomenal performance especially in track events. So what is this? We need to improve the core side through training. Yes, we have I have a training plan in the end of this session to improve this core cycle. But first you need to understand the mechanics behind it. If this lactate is too high in the muscles before it goes to the liver and comes back as an energy, your body will stop working. We have all seen the athletes going all out in the beginning and then falling down pretty dramatically in the end of the race. In the last strength and conditioning seminar, Veeramani has provided us a very detailed insight on this, and from his presentation, I need you to understand this. This might be I'll try to make it simple. That when your heart rate goes up, this is very important. For the coaches to understand the heart rate of your athlete, and I will tell you about it in the later stages of this presentation. Now, when the heart rate elevates, the blood lactate elevates as well. But if you know the perfect place where your athlete's heart rate is stable and the lactate is right here, then your athlete can perform a longer distance or a better performance, generate better power if this blood lactate do not stop him. This is the part we need to train, because the exhaustion, the fatigue you see in your athletes, it is because of this gap. The production of the ATP is getting lower, and your system that producing the ATP is not adequate enough. So this gaps make your muscles exhaust, the fatigue you see in your athletes. So we need to lower this gap. For untrained athletes, it hits faster, and for the trained athletes, it hits later stages, which is why we train. Okay, that brings us to the heart rate part. We're gonna understand the zones of the heart rate, of very famous zones. And if you do have a question, you can ask in the chat. I have a chat box open right beside me. So if you have any question regarding anything, you can put this in the chat, and we can discuss it after the presentation. Okay, understanding the heart rate, the zones. It is very important as a coach that you know these 5 zones. Zone 1 is 50% to 60% of your maximum heart rate capacity. Okay, I hope you all know what is the maximum heart rate, but for clarification, let me add that as well. Maximum heart rate is 220 minus the age of your athletes. Over here, I have an example of 20-year-old athlete. If your athlete is 20 years old, then its maximum heart rate will be 220 minus 20, that is 200, right? So for zone 1, 50 to 60%, which means 100 beats per second to 120 beats per second. That is the warm-up stage of your athlete. You really warm up in this zone, in zone 1 and zone 2. When you go to zone 2, it's 60% to 70%, which is 120 beats per second to 140 beats per second. And zone 3 moves to 70 to 80, which is 140 beats per second to 160 beats per second. This is the part where your athlete need to train or run. A coach should know at what pace my athlete is running and what is his or her heart rate on that specific pace for a specific distance. This is the first part for a coach that he needs to learn. When we move on to the fourth zone, this is where the lactic acid starts to accumulate in your muscles. And with the Cori cycle training, we can delay this zone. We can have more added meters to this zone when your heart rate is 160 to 180 beats per second and you are still not accumulating that lactate in your muscles. And lastly, the fifth zone, this is for the sprinters, specifically for the sprinters, but as we can see recently in middle distance running, even in the long distance running, the finish we have, the close finish we have, it's definitely, they are all in this fifth zone. This is like maximum of your heart rate, 90% to 100%, 180 beats per second to a maximum of 200 beats per second. We can track this with different gadgets. Usually we have a smartwatch or a tracker on the chest that can be used to track these. Now, back to you guys. Do you have your diaries with you? Are you ready to do some math? Are you?
Yes.
Okay. Let's bring out those diaries. Let's see who's got a better athlete with a better Cori cycle. We're going to find this through this test. You can do this test on your athletes and find out how good your athlete is on the speed endurance part, right? Okay. First, let me have mine as well. Okay. First, we're going to start with 3 flying 30 meters. 3 flying 30 meters. Let's say my athlete do a flying 30 meter in 3 seconds. We're gonna use the average of that for 100-meter pace. 3 seconds divided by 30, we're gonna have a 1 meter time, and then we're gonna multiply this with 100, which makes it a 10-second 100-meter race. Are you getting this? If you have any questions, do ask me. If you do not understand this part, do ask me, because this is very important. This is very straightforward. You need to do this speed endurance test on your athletes to know where they stand. Number one, we're going to check the speed, and then we're gonna run them on 180 meters, 150 meters, and 160 meters with 15 minutes rest in each race. Okay, and these are all flying start, no standing start, all flying start. We're going to average them according to 100 meters. As I have told you that my athlete is doing flying 30 meter in 3 seconds, and the average for the 100 meters is 10-second race. And another athlete, well, the same athlete doing 120 meters in 12.4 seconds, flying 1500 meter with a 16.2 seconds flying, and 180 meters with 20 seconds flying. When we get the average of these according to the 100 meters, for the speed test, we have a 10-second 100-meter race, and for these results, we have a 10.7-second 100-meter race when we calculate the averages. When we do this, which means there is a 0.7 seconds gap between the speed and the speed endurance, which is not good. Which is not good. Now, I hope someone from the class did this math for their athletes. If not now, do it later, and we can discuss this. And today or afterwards, we are in the same group right now. On the WhatsApp groups, you can send me those results, and we can discuss things later if you are not ready for this right now. Now what we need to do is, this is a Cori Cycle training plan. If we do this once a week, and then do the same test, you will see significant difference. And if this test shows differences, your athlete's performance will be different from the past. For that, obviously, you need to know what your athlete's heart rate is. What I do, I use a smartwatch, set the beep on the 90%, whatever his heart rate is. Let's say he's 20 years old and the 90% of the heart rate is 180. I set the beep on the watch at 180. So he sprints to zone 5 up to 90% of the heart rate, and when the watch beeps, he or she stops. Then he or she takes a rest, back to zone 1, which is 60% of the heart rate, and repeats this 3 times. Why I use heart rate instead of distance or time? Because every individual has its own energy system and its own heart rate, and should be trained accordingly to the heart rate. 3 sets of this with a 5 to 7 minutes of rest. Usually it happens in trained athletes that their heart rate comes down to 100 beats per second. But obviously, if you're training with beginners or different athletes, you need to wait more to start the next set. One workout per week for 8 workouts, and then do this post test again. You will see a difference in speed and speed endurance. The let's say the drop off time will be lower. Okay, all right. In the end, I always add this from Guntar Lange's presentation, that yes, science helps you with coaching, but I think I agree with Jamie Fisher, Guntar Lange, that coaching is not a science, it's an art. You need to understand each individual at a very basic level, maybe at a psychological level, at a physiological level, even at a social level, what kind of social problems he might have. So that brings us to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. So do you have anything to say?
Yes, please, coaches.
I always say this, that the physical seminars or physical coaching courses, in-person coaching courses, live coaching courses are always important, because if it was we were together at the same place, we can run this test on all of us, and we could have learned a lot more, because understanding this on a screen is pretty damn difficult.
Thank you, Mr. Iftikhar. It's a very informative session. And as you shown few tests also regarding speed endurance tests, definitely we'll try to edit and get back to you.
Sure.
And if we'll face any problem, then we'll consult you also. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure. So one last suggestion, you will have this PPT with you after the course. There are lots of speed endurance tests we can use to check, but most of them are pretty expensive and need a certain lab. People, those who have access to those labs, they can use that. They are more accurate. But I have checked this test multiple times on multiple athletes, and it always works. But the important part is to train the Cori cycle. If you train the Cori cycle, your drop off will be low in the speed and endurance part, and which will obviously help you enhance the performance of your athletes. Thank you so much. Over to Ms. Ria.
Yes, okay, maybe another question. No more?
Yeah, sir, I have a question. Sir, I have a question, please. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
It's regarding the concept which Mr. Thomas also discussed about that stretching before the the deadlift or the power lift when you're
Yeah.
doing. Before that, stretching should be very specific. So can you just guide me or explain me what kind of stretching you meant that at that moment? What kind of
Okay.
stretch you prefer? Not if not the regular stretching, the flexibility stretches, then what kind of stretches should an athlete use? Because of course, when he started, when he is in the gym, before starting, the lifts, he has to activate his muscles. He has to
Yes.
do some kind of warm up. So can
Yes.
you guide me about that,
Yeah, sure.
or any other director? Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
The first thing is you need to understand this. I always say this, that our muscles are like rubber bands. Everybody uses rubber bands, right? If you put a rubber band on a certain stretch and keeps it there, if you keeps it there for a longer period of time, it will, let's say, lose its strength. It will not bounce back like it was doing it earlier. So doing a static stretching, we like athletes do for 20 seconds hold or a 30-second hold, that will weaken your muscles for a certain period of time. So for activation of muscles, it is important that you do a dynamic stretching, a specific event based stretching slash
Dynamic.
how we can say that when you are lifting something, you can do squats, run, squats, back, lunges, run, lunges, back. So use dynamic stretching, especially for it is recommended for all warm-ups, but
Okay.
especially it will uh, it will be dangerous for the power athletes.
Before
Is it?
strength training, before gym workout,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
has to
It,
be dynamic. It has to be dynamic.
especially for the gym events, but
Okay.
obviously recommended for the other events as well, like regular warm-up. If
Or
when you
what if
do when you
what
do
if an athlete uses a resistance band to activate the muscles only, not
yeah,
the
sure,
static
sure,
band?
sure. You are doing a resistance. When you are doing a resistance band training, you're putting a stretch on your muscles, a dynamic stretching. That's what it is.
Okay.
It's very good way to activate your muscles.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Hello,
Yes.
hello, Professor Talla.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much for this kind of informative session. Can you repeat, please, neuromuscular adaptation?
Okay, that's a complete huge science behind that, and we can discuss this whenever you want to, but it's very important to learn that when you perform activity, let's say you are doing a standing jump into a pit, and you engage some of your neuromuscular patterns to do that. We all have done this one thing. We do a standing jump on a stadium stairs, right? When we do that, let's say we jump on the second stair. That was pretty easy. No need to recruit all those motor muscles. But when you are going for the third or the fourth stair, you need to recruit all the motor units you have. And when you have not done that best height you gain in the training. It looks difficult for you because your motor learning is not done. And once you achieve that jump up to the fourth step, your neuromuscular adaptation starting to work out, and the next time you do it pretty easily, and next time more easy, more. So that is why it is important to do that complex movements, difficult movements, to recruit those motor skills. You cannot run a 10-second race by training 11-second races. You need to run that 10-second race in your training once in a while, maybe. Does this answer my question, your question? Okay. So any other who wants to add in this or ask something? Mr. Nair, do you want to add something in this?
It's fine. Thank you. Fine. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So over to Ms. Ria.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Harps. So before we continue with Mr. Nair, what about for 5 minutes break? Okay, so
Sure.
we have 5 minutes break.
Ria, the session is over for today?
No. This is 5 minutes break.
All right, okay.
Sorry, are you Umas, eh?
Roma, Umme Roman, yeah, Umme Roman.
Umme
Yeah.
Roman. Yeah, because your device is not identify your
My
real name.
my brand name is Roma. My brand name is Roma.
Oh, okay. So I know now. Okay, thank you.
Umme Roman, yeah. Thank you.
Because I'm checking the attendance, you know. So I'm
Umme Roman.
I
Umme
was
Roman.
looking for all the participants.
Roma is from Roman.
I see. Yeah.
Thank you.
Somapong, you are on mute. You are speaking, but you are on mute.
Who, Mr. Nair?
No, Mr. Somapong from Thailand, he's on mute, but he's speaking something.
Oh, Mr. Sampong. Okay. So we can continue. We are inviting Mr. Nair to have a class. Please, Mr. Nair.
Thank you, Ms. Ria. Good afternoon, all coaches. I like to see your faces, beautiful faces of lady coaches and handsome faces of men coaches. So please switch on your video. Thank you so much. By listening, I was throughout listening the classes of Mr. Thomas as well as Mr. Muhammad Tala. It was very informative. So you understood what about about most of the things about planning. So this is the last one, microcycle. That is the micro means microcycle. So shall I share my screen, Ms. Ria?
Sure. Please, you can share it, Mr.
I'm sorry because it was gone out of my desktop. And again, I was to go back.
It's okay. Yeah, we can see it now.
So microcycle, you learn about the periodization. There are different phases, and you learn about the macrocycle, mesocycle, and microcycle. Microcycle is the smallest training cycle among all these. So many microcycle become, for example, 5 or 6, 7 microcycle become a mesocycle, and 2 or 3 mesocycle will become a macrocycle. When you plan for an year, this all maybe it will be a macrocycle because generally in Asian countries, a macrocycle will be consisting about 10 months. So in all the phases, how you place the microcycle, that is important. When you plan general preparation, again from the periodization, I like to say something more. In general preparation, there are 2 phases. That is general preparation and specific preparation. Then come competition phase. There is pre-competition, competition, and tapering. Then come transit. So in all these phases, when we arrange the microcycle units will be different. Goal will be different from the general preparation to the competition season, the competition phase, and the pre-competition phase, and the tapering phase, where our coaches fail sometimes. They are not able to properly plan the microcycle before the competition or in tapering period. So finally, the athletes get flopped in the performance in the main competition. So as you learned in the periodization, there is double periodization, single periodization and double periodization, block periodization. In a block periodization, when you arrange the microcycle, you should be very careful. Of course, being a coach, I don't suggest to have block periodization for the athletes in long distance because they need more of general preparation and specific. When you make block periodization, when you plan the block periodization, the preparation and the specific preparation is getting reduced. At the same time, in block periodization, there will be different peaking. This is advisable for an athletes in performance stage. That too for jumpers, throwers, etc., but not good for the middle and long distance. That is my opinion. You may be having a different opinion. We are all coaches. So When we plan microcycle, we have to keep something in mind. Let me go to the next slide. This is an African proverb. You can't make the grass grow faster by pulling on the blade. That is what Mr. Ria in the morning, he clearly explained that long-term athlete development is you must understand the long-term athletic development. Accordingly, we have to plan your microcycle or mesocycle or microcycle. So you agree with me? Hope. And one more thing I just want to say, that this is an interaction, not just my lecturing. I want something to learn, to learn from you as well. So when I ask some questions, kindly answer for that. You can unmute and answer for the questions, or you can interact. Now, what are the things that optimal training should be in your mind when you make a microcycle? Avoid overtraining and underload training. This is very important when you handle with the youngsters, that is in multi-event stages. Of course, in multi-event stages, we normally plan single periodization. So you must know, you must keep in mind this, mainly this whole thing. Observe level of fatigue. You know, you understood what is structural load, what is neuromuscular load, what is what you call other metabolic load. There are certain principles. For example, you are given a NMS load, that is neuromuscular load, then the athlete will be recovered only after 48 hours. That should be in your mind. Accordingly, you should place the next unit, next session. Similarly, for the structural load also. Structural load, of course, the athletes recover little early, but minimum 36 to 28 hours. And for the metabolic load, it also stands about that according to the intensity and volume of the metabolic load, the recovery, you should understand what is, you only making the volume, you only making the intensity. Accordingly, we should plan the next sessions, next units. Here are the microcycle construction checklist. First of all, evaluate the microcycle checklist. What we are going to do, what we are going to do, what is the goal of this microcycle, and what is the pace which you are making this microcycle. Then calculate the intensities and volume. I know there are so many coaches are not able to calculate the intensity and volume. If they are not able to calculate the intensity and volume, you cannot understand the load, whether the load is high, low, medium. It's simple. For example, neuromuscular training, you can calculate the intensities and volume very easily. And especially in metabolic load also you can calculate. And you construct the daily session, as I said in the beginning, in the last slide, considering the what type of load you are provided, you are given to the athletes. And you must design the load distribution accordingly. For example, I'm telling, if you are giving an enormous load today evening, it is suggested not to give an enormous load in the next day morning or next day session morning. Minimum, you must give about 48 hours recovery to design the load for the next session. Then fix the amount of each unit, how much. It is, they simply say 2.5 hours. What you are going to do in 2.5 hours? That should be fixed. Identify the units to be covered. Each unit to be covered, and what should be the load, or what should be the goal of the unit. Determine the period and phase. As I said in the beginning, the microcycle will be much different from the general preparation and in a tapering. And it will be different from specific preparation and competitions. So you must determine the period and phase where you are giving the microcycle plan to your athlete. And most important, but not the last, has to be explained the first, that is establish a profile of the athlete. This is the very important checklist which you have to do when before planning a microcycle. Of course, this is the level 2 syllabus. I know that most of the athletes lose or fail in level 2 in the microcycle, because if they are keeping all the things in their mind and making a microcycle, definitely it will be suiting to the athlete's age, training age. I will explain more about the profile of athlete in the coming slides. This is the athlete profile. Now, one is chronological age, biological age. You understand what is biological age? That is early developer and early mature. So if you can find some athletes, maybe 14-year-old, but he looks 18-year-old, and his biological growth will be for an 18-year-old. So you should understand the biological age also, not only the chronological age. You can find somebody is 18-year-old, but he looks like chronological age is the calendar age. He looks like about, you can say 14-year-old. So you should evaluate the biological age, understand the biological age of the athlete before making a training plan. And then developmental age. What is the developmental age? Means that is training age, you can calculate, and immature in some area. For example, one is develop good strength but does not have flexibility. So the developmental age also you should calculate, and other thing, training age. Recently in the last level 2 course, when I was checking the microcycle of one of my course participants, I gave the training program for an athlete of 17-year-old, and biological age also 17. But he wrote training age as 10 year. That means that athlete started training at the age of 12 or 11, especially for throws. And as in the beginning, Mr. Priya explained, you must know at least 10,000 hours required to reach an athlete to his high potential. This 10,000 hours is almost about, you can say, 10 to 12 years. What is early specialization and overtraining? Some of our coaches, mostly in Asia, they started doing early specialization and overtraining, and they finished this 10 years of development, 10,000 hours of development at the age of 18 or 19. The athlete get burnout and he will be vanishing from the athletics. For example, I asked one of my coach came for the level 1. He was a coach in our sports authority for training centers. I asked him what is the age of the children which you are training? And he said it is 15, 16. I asked him how many hours of training you give in a day and how many sessions. He said 6 days in a week, 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening. That means 24 hours in a week. That is too heavy and high for an athlete at the age of 16. We should definitely, it's a double carrier. We should definitely give importance for their academic studies also. When you prepare a microcycle, you must have this point also in your mind. Your athlete is a student in university or in a school, in a whatever it may be, high school. So his academic area should not be disturbed by your training plan. That also should be kept in your mind. Then athletic development, then gender is also important. Then even there are different event terms like high jump, long jump, shot put, discus, armor throw, middle and long distance, and what you call steeplechase, marathon. So of course, marathon we are not much dealing at this age group of 20. But however, that you must know what event. And the microcycle for in all period and phases are totally different from a throwers and a middle distance runner, and from a jumper to a thrower. From, of course, sometimes jumper and thrower come sometimes something similar, but much different to a sprint and hurdle athlete. So this also should be kept in your mind. Then period preparation. What preparation? What is period phase? General preparation or specific then phase. Then number of session. For example, how many sessions you are going to plan. For example, it's 6. An annual goal for an high jumper, 1.82 meter. For a long jumper, it is 5.95 meter. For a short putter, you can say 19 meter, 18 meter. Javelin throw, we can say 73 meter, like that. Hope you agree with me. So athletic development principle. I'm not going to talk much on this because today morning, Dr. Ria has explained well about this, how an athlete develop. And you can see in the kids athletic stage, there is no periodization. In multi-event, single periodization. But of course, in multi-events, as Dr. Ria said, there are competition. Without competition, athletes will get boredom, and they will be getting boring because they every time training. So there are competition, but you will not be peaking for any competition. You have to keep in mind the athletic development and age and their physical development in your mind, and that is their growth and develop in your mind, and then single and double periodization for the event group development. That also, for example, the event group development starts from the age of, you can say 15, 16. And when you make a plan for 15, 16, it can be a single periodization. When they go to 17 and 18, then we can go for a double periodization and single and double multi-periodization. This is, of course, performance stage athlete. Only we can go for this block periodization. That is, multiple periodization is block periodization. So I think these all things were explained by Dr. Ria. I don't think I need to explain more on this. Hope my language is okay and am I speedy? You are not able to understand, please let me know. I will moderatively test it. I apologize. English is not my language, so I'm not that very good in English. The training load. As I said in the beginning, the training load is the combination of volume and intensity of any training. Whether it is a strength training, whether it is a throwing training, whether it is a sprinting session, whether it is a, you can say, metabolic load like running, and this volume and intensity of a training, you should understand. The volume is the quantity of training and the intensity is the quality of training. For example, if I do bench press with 8 to 10 repetition and of 50% of my single repetition, that is volume is the repetition and the intensity is the load. That means the weight. That is 50% of my 1 RPM. Then similarly, you can calculate that in the, for example, 300 meter with 80% load or 70% load, repetition 5. So the volume is the repetition and the intensity is the quality of training. Hope you are clear about it. And then it becomes training load. Intensity, when it comes combination of intensity and volume is the training load. This is a microcycle design. In this, you can find what all the things which we are to add when you prepare a microcycle design. I think we have a microcycle presentation in our seminar, 3-day seminar. Some of you coaches will be presenting some microcycle. I think Ms. Ria will give the details of what microcycle to be designed. In this name, chronological age, gender, then comes maturing, early maturer, late maturer, biological age, development age, and training age, athlete development stage, whether it is kids athletics, multi-event, event development and specialization or performance. And then you write events and his best performance of the present best performance, then previous year best performance. That is maybe SB and PB you can say. Then you have to show annual plan, single, where you are going for single periodization or double periodization or block periodization, period, whether it is preparation, competition, specific preparation, general competition, competition, pre-competition or tapering. Then we will say mesocycle, which is a mesocycle, and then microcycle. Microcycle, you have to write Sunday, details of the session, training emphasis. What is the training emphasis? What you are doing, what for your, that is the goal, whether it is for speed or strength, speed endurance, strength endurance, and what you call rest, recovery, etc. And the loading also you can mention. It is biological, sorry, is whether it is structural load, neuromuscular load, or metabolic load, right? When you place the things on Sunday, what are you going to do? Rest. Then in Monday morning, what you are going to do? Afternoon, what you are going to do? In Monday morning, if you are giving a NMS load, you may please don't give any NMS load on Tuesday. Similarly, you have to place the units. There are microcycle has got no limit. It can go even 14 days microcycle we can prepare. In the kids athletes and multi-event stages of athlete development, all athletes should do 2 or 3 event activities in each session. But though there is no periodization for kids athletics, they should do at least 2 or 3 in multi-event stage. They should do at least 2 or 3 events activity, 3 event activities in one session. And in combined events, frequently use microcycle of 14 days duration. Otherwise, generally we use 7 to 8 days microcycle for the other events. When you design a microcycle, what all things? This is, of course, it's not for example, I said in the beginning, the microcycle preparation depends upon the event. And it may be not that, I think, here it may be for a middle long distance runner that by seeing the unit, I understand it may not be for gems or pros, it may be of middle and long distance runners. And flexibility and coordination, 3 units, maximum strength 1 unit, reactive strength 2 unit, speed endurance 1 unit, technique drills for speed, changing phase, competitive stimulation 2, 1, 1, and the endurance is 5 units. So here the endurance has been gone for 5 units. So I understand this particular microcycle plan is for middle and long distance. Microcycle checklist is the content appropriate to period of training. Means which period, whether it is competition period, whether it is specific preparation period, or whether it is tapering period. So the contents of the appropriate period should be known to you. Accordingly, we should prepare. Are the chosen methods appropriate? For example, intensity and volume. The load is to the goals. Can we achieve the goals by the chosen methods? Are the methods are age related? As I said, all the athletes, individuals are unique. So their quality also is unique. So we must make sure that our methods are age related. Is there balance between training load and recovery? Already said in the previous, there should be a balance between the training load and recovery. If the sufficient recovery is there or not, and you must make sure what is the most important thing in recovery. What I feel is if you have a very good nutritious food, you have rest, you have sauna bath, you have ice bath, everything. But if your athlete does not sleep properly and don't hydrate properly, the athlete will not be recovering. And you may be knowing the neck, you can find some athlete get injured. Your assumption is different, but what athlete must be totally whole night. He or she may be watching, maybe on the mobile, watching the YouTube, etc. And second day when she come, you presuming the load given to her last day, you'll start loading him or her, and finally the athlete will not be able to tolerate the load and getting injured. I just want to tell you and remind you, I don't know how many of you agree with me, that 90% of the responsibility of an injury is of coach. I tell to my coaches also, the injury causes either but wrong technique or lack of recovery. These are the two things which mainly wrong technique and lack of recovery. Main thing leads to injuries. This is because of coach. And of course, 10% you can say slip in bathroom, hit by a discus or hit by a javelin. So of course, it is not coming under the responsibility of a coach. But however, the hit by the javelin and discus is also the responsibility of the coach, because he is not ensuring the safety. And there should be principle of variation, means different type of training. It should not be monotonous. There should be variation in your plan. Are the training units and the training components arranged to meet different requirements, that means pre-conditioned recovery of each of the biometric domain? That is what I told now 2 minutes before. So this is a microcycle for a young athlete. It is a sample of microcycle for a young athlete. You can find this, you can see this my screen. You can find how they are planning the training load. You can find volume is more, intensity is less on the first day. Second day, intensity and volume is moderate. Then third day, intensity, volume is less, intensity is more. Then fourth day is complete recovery. On fifth day, again, volume is less and intensity is high. Sixth day is complete rest. And then the seventh day, it is volume is high and intensity is moderate. So an energy system, that aerobic, lactate, ATP-CP, aerobic, lactate, ATP-CP, aerobic, lactate. It will be different for the athletes, young athletes events. So this is a sample for a microcycle for the senior athlete. You can say the volume is high and intensity is low. Here, volume is moderate and intensity is low. And third day, volume is moderate, intensity also, you can say not sub-maximum. And here, in the fourth day, the volume is high, intensity is low. And fifth day, the volume is less and intensity is high. And then sixth day, volume is medium and intensity is high. And seventh day, it is the volume is medium and the intensity is low. And you must understand this particular microcycle for senior, it is only a sample. It will be much different to event. For example, in throwing event, this volume will be, and not only even by the pace, the period. Is it competition period? This is you can say a general preparation period, I think, the microcycle senior athlete plan. When it goes to the specific preparation, you can find intensity and volume is almost same. And that is why we can see that most of the athletes get injured during specific preparation period, because the intensity and volume is almost same. It neither volume is less nor intensity is less. When we come to the competition period, then the volume is drastically reduced and the intensity will be high. And when you go to competition season, it is different. It is different, like intensity will be high, but volume will be very less. And when you go for the when you go for the tapering period, volume is almost zero. And in zero means you can say 10% and 90% intensity. So that type of recovery will be more. There should be enough recovery with, for example, in throwing. In a tapering period, you may go for weight training. That too, you will go for a sub-maximum weight training. For example, one RPM is 100 kg in snatch. You may go for 2 repetition of 60 kgs or 70 kgs. Either should not be very low. Intensity should not be very low. And maybe only 2 repetition or 1 repetition. And the exercise also will be limited 1 or 2 or 3 in the tapering period. Hope you understand this all. This
Yes, sir.
is for a senior and experienced endurance athlete with training age of 8 years. I told you in the beginning itself, this is showing endurance athlete of endurance because this PowerPoint presentation is made by Gunter. He loves middle and long distance. Maybe he is putting more on middle and long distance. Now planning the training session. Designing the training session. Decide what activities and what order to achieve your goals and objectives. You must decide what is the goal for this particular training session. Then build in principles of effective practice. Principle of training should be completely brought in your training sessions. So we explained something about principle of there are so many in waiting room. And set specific goals and objectives. Decide which skill, which biometric abilities or which energy system will be developed. Now, Mr. Mohammed has explained about energy system and biometric abilities. So that also should be set. Set the overall goal and objectives. Set the overall goals and objectives. That also decide how is this practice fit into the big picture of the microcycle and period of training. Then organization of a training session, warm-up. It was very well explained by Mohammed about warm-up. Then briefing in warming up. See, many of our coaches, especially when you give a warm-up when you frame a warm-up for the senior elite athletes, the warming up session should not be very big. I mean, the warming up time should not be very big because, for example, your training is for 2.5 hours. For an elite athlete, I'm telling you are planning a microcycle program for 2.5 hours. If you start warming up, if you do warming up for 45 minutes, it is too much. The warming up should be brief, but it will be different for the young athlete. They need more warm up. But for an elite athlete, the warming up should be as required. I don't say it should not be, as some Mr. Thomas was telling, the 100-meter runner and sprinters of US, they warm up for 2 hours before the event or before the training plan. But I can't just digest that because when an athlete do warming up for 2 hours, how much energy will be used and how much energy he will be reserving for the training or the competition. For example, for a shot putter, if you do 2 hours, if he start 2 hours before the start of the competition, he's warming up, he'll be exhausted by finishing his warming up. I think some of the coaches must have experienced, and he will not be able to perform high in the competition what you expect. Hope you all understand. And then again, stretching in warm-up. Stretching, it is very specifically Mohammed Salah has explained that please go for dynamic stretching before training. It is not for power events. It is for even sprint even also. Don't go for active standing stretchings. Go for dynamic stretching, which before running, before jumping, before throwing. So that point should be kept in your mind. Then you should brief about the session, what we are going to do. Most of the coaches never say what we are going to do. They say, okay, they will after warm up, okay, you take this, you go for 150 meter. But as me being a coach, I used to explain why we are doing, what is our goal, what for we are doing, whether we are doing for maximum strength session or whether we are doing for the strength endurance or speed strength or endurance. Like then technique and skill unit, that is the practice. Then conditioning and fitness unit. Then recovery and cool down. This is a organization of training session. Such training session will be planned in a microcycle, right? Prepare the athletes mentally and why you do warm up. Prepare the athletes mentally and physically for the session of activity. Keep that, and it should start slowly, gradually increase the intensity when you do warm up. And relevant the following session and activity. Include skill, dynamic mobilization work. Skill and dynamic mobilization work. That means I said dynamic stretching. If the athlete cannot do a drill in a skilled way, the drill or exercise must be done later in the session in the technique. No static stretching. Make it fun. Variety is the key. Make it appropriate for the athletes. It is not that you will start warming up only for upper body like exercises. Then after that, you do one exercise for the upper body, then go for the lower body, then upper body, then for the hips, etc. Like that. That is the way you plan, because you are well experienced coaches. You have your own way of doing. So, but keep the principle in mind. The load of a session. The type of loading may be neuromuscular and structural and metabolic. As I said, when you do a neuromuscular CNS load, it is better to give them at least 48 hours recovery to do another neuromuscular activity. And structural, of course, you know what is structural load, and you know neuromuscular load, and you know metabolic load, because it is explained by the previous lecturers. If at all, if you want to know, I also don't mind to explain in the end of the class, because I have to finish the class by 15 hours. But no worry, I'll be available if you are available. Both volume and intensity of loading must also be given careful consideration. Intensity, as I said, according to the pace period, you must control the volume and intensity. The athlete should not be exposed to very high demands upon the organic system in a successive unit. That is what I told. Now, there are some coaches ask me, can I go for strength training in the morning? Example, speed strength training. And in the evening, can I give the plyometric strength training? That also is speed strength training. But it will be always better to do the speed strength training with barbells and other things. Then follow the same session, the plyometrics. Because what I said in the beginning, the speed strength training is a neuromuscular activity. So if you give again in the evening, there are chances of injuries. So to avoid that, if you follow up then the same session, it will be better. That is what I believe. Not only for the throws, it is good for the sprinters as well. Immediately after that, right? And every unit should be specific objective and should vary within a day and from the day to day. You must also know, when we are doing two activities in one session, for example, neuromuscular and metabolic, it is better do neuromuscular before the metabolic activities. That is like aerobic or lactate or ATP energy system. Hope you all agree with me. and cool down. Why? Helps body to get rid of these products and muscles, reduce heart rate and blood pressure gradually, helps to lower adrenaline levels. Cool down begin in the process of adaptation. About this, there are certain recent literature. For example, jumpers after the strength training, they should not do much of cool down. I don't know. I'm still digging out of what is the reason for that. And how should be gentle aerobic exercise 5 to 10 minutes, gradually slowing, stretch, holding static stretches for 60 seconds, add feedback on performance or the training progress, keep it fun and very detailed for the next session. So thank you for listening and for your contribution. Of course, you did not contribute anything. I will just get some contribution from you now. You can ask me any number of questions because this is the last class. I can extend. In India, it is only 1:30. So I can extend up to 2:30. No problem. And I think most of you had lunch with nasi goreng and mee goreng. Nasi goreng is my favorite food when I come to Indonesia, Malaysia.
And
Sir, I have a
Indonesia as well.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, Roma.
Sir, Abhi, you said that you cannot digest the way athlete and sprinter or any athlete do kind of warm up for 2 hours warm up or a longer warm up. So you don't digest it. But sir, as a coach, if my athlete, he is not satisfied to start with the training unless he finished a 1.5 hour or 2 hour warm up. He is not satisfied. He is not ready to start his training. Then what should I do as a coach? How to handle this situation? Can you guide me?
Roma, let me know first what is the stage of athlete? What is the, you can say, is it a multi-event stage or a event specialization stage or a performance stage athlete?
It's a performance stage, sprinter.
Okay, performance stage athlete, mainly what I feel, performance stage athlete is an elite athlete.
Yeah.
So your, the duration of your training is 4 hours or 3 hours?
Yeah, usually like it takes three hours.
So
3.5
now you contribute the major portion of your training to warm up.
Yeah.
And maybe you are doing the different way of warming up. I don't know whether you may be sprinting, you may be striding, doing some ADC drills like. But however, the energy storage for the main training session, main training session will be less. That is what I believe. I don't know that how that is actually. Mr. Thomas has told that the US sprinters, they do 2 hour warm up.
Yeah.
And in fact, I have an athlete in our senior elite group. Whenever I say the first race, she's a 400-meter runner. First race, she don't do good. Then I asked why you could not do good. She say my body was not open.
Exactly.
So then I told her, do one thing. You do 1 400-meter before main competition, and then your body will be open. But that is, of course, if you get into the energy system, when you do energy is used, and the left part is the main part. There, he or she may not be able to perform the skill or perform in the competition in a on your expectation. Adequate warm up. It is not say that long warm up. In my principle, long warm up will reduce the energy storage in the athletes and will not be able to continue the further training. I think I know that you are not satisfied because your question I could not answer. I was asking indirect questions. Anyway,
No,
I just told you my opinion. Okay.
Yeah, no, sir. I a little bit, I agree with you because, of course, athlete has to save energy for the performance.
Training or performance.
Exactly.
I will tell you, sorry,
the
Roma.
training load. Yeah.
Sorry, Roma. I will tell you an example. We have got a Belgian coach, thus in India. He's a discus throwing coach. He's here with us for last 6-7 months.
Mhm.
He was telling me why your athletes are warming up so much. He say, my discus thrower comes to the ground. He or she utilize 1.5 hour for trainings. Practice, warming up, specific warm up like that. I get another 1 hour, less than 1 hour for the training. So why it is habituated with them. It is not only with your athlete, it is with our, we also had some athlete, they will warm up very aggressively. And warm up should be slow, and then you should bring purpose of warm up to tone up your muscles and mentally prepare for the event. Not to exert your energy or finish your energy in warming up itself. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you for your
Thank you.
contribution. Anyone else? You can ask everyone. There are 57 participants. Out of that, one is me, one is Miss Ria, one is Muhammad Ala, 3. Then I think DV also will be somewhere in the corner. 4. Then 53 participants are there. So you all can ask questions. I'm ready. I'm here. If I know, I'll answer. Otherwise, there are experts, so you can ask them. Thomas and Mohammed. In fact, I was talking more of throws because I'm a throwing coach. And if Gunda speaks, he will speak about more of middle and long. If Dr. Ria speaks, he will speak more of planning of jumps. So it differs with the special area. But I can answer the questions of microcycle, not beyond that.
Sir,
If there is no doubt, what I will understand, no? Either you all understood everything or you did not understand anything. That person will not be having doubt. Okay. Roshini
yeah,
from Sri Lanka.
sir.
Yes.
Sir, one day session, sir told morning session hypotherapy training and evening again weight training. Can do the
What is
can
it
do the
in the morning? What is the training?
hypotherapy, weight training. Then sir told no
Hypo.
weight training.
Sledge training.
Yeah, weight training. Yeah,
Sledge
trainings.
Sledge training.
weight training.
Weight training.
Track
hypertrophy.
training.
Yeah.
What is the track training you are doing? Whether it is sprint, whether you are doing a continuous run or you are doing for speed endurance. What is the track training?
Yeah, okay. Evening do the strength training.
No, what is the track training you said? Is it
No, I
metabolic or is it neuromuscular? If it is a metabolic, like you can say, speed endurance or general endurance, very good. You can go for weight training in the evening. But it is always better you do weight training in the strength training in the morning and go for the metabolic training in the evening. That will be better.
okay, sir.
Are you satisfied with my answer?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? No, you should have many questions because it is a very, very, very confused area, that is preparation of microcycle. Very expert coaches fail in that, to plan a microcycle. There are so many points you have to keep in your mind when you prepare a microcycle. I think, Ms. Ria, there is a microcycle presentation class, right? Ms. Ria?
Yeah, yeah. So tomorrow we are divided into different groups of event, and you will talk about the microcycle. So it is the time for now to ask for the training session. Sorry. So I think it is the time now to ask.
You can ask question and make your doubts clear, because I know that there will be a lot of doubts. Mr. Ria is sharing some.
Okay. Sorry, Mr. Nair and Ibu Ria. So tomorrow you have this form. Every groups of event, you will have one training session for general preparation, one for specific preparation, and one for pre-competition. So what we need is in the warm up, maybe just such simple exercise. Then technique what you do, fitness unit what to do. As Mr. Nair explained to you about regarding the load, then you put also the volume, intensity, and recovery for general preparation, for specific preparation, for pre-competition. This is the training session. So it's not yet complex. But after that, maybe tomorrow, we will discuss about the microcycle. But we start with discussion about the training session first. So tomorrow morning, 9 to 10, it will be your time coming, and Ibu Ria will break into the groups. And now you can break down into 8 group or 9 group. That group number 1 will be sprint. Number 2 will be hurdles. Number 3, middle distance. Number 4, long distance. Number 5, horizontal jump. Number 6, vertical jump. Number 7, linear throw. Number 8, rotational throw. So maybe you can choose one of the event number. Then you can put in the chat room what number you like to do. Then Ibu Ria later will make you as a group work. And tomorrow 9 o'clock you will come in the group and will be going to the break room and discuss about this training session. So don't forget, you can make a screenshot for this. Then tomorrow you will discuss on this platform. Ibu Ria, thank you.
Yeah, so we can share it. We can share. We can share it on the group, on the WhatsApp groups. So what's number you are, and what event number you are. So we will communicate on the WhatsApp group. I will also.
Any more doubts?
Sorry. And then in the morning, please put your event number in front of your names. So when you go to the class, not only your name you should write, but also your event number. You please write your event number in front of your names. So for instance, I'm a horizontal jump, so I put 5 Ria Stuti, something like that.
So any more questions? You are most welcome. Now, there is a story I'll tell you. When I was in Army, I was in Air Force. So when I go for some security lectures, my driver used to see me. So he was telling me, sir, you are giving the same lecture everywhere. I can also do this lecturing. Okay, I said, okay, in this place you do the lecturing. He started lecturing, then somebody asked some question. Then, oh, no, yaar, it is very simple question. My driver also is know the answer for that. The driver said, my driver also know the answer for that. For example, now Mr. Ria is there, so I can share something I don't know through him. You understood my story. I think most of you did not understand. Okay, any doubt? Please come up. I said I need some contribution from you. It's not only I just made blah, blah, blah for 1 hour, then leaving off. I don't like that. So if you have any problem in language, I know some of the people may not be able to speak English.
Okay, any question?
Nothing in chat box also.
Yes.
I'll check it first. Not yet.
Hello, sorry, ma'am.
Sir, I have a question.
I mean that I'm not in WhatsApp room. We not already make WhatsApp room, I think. So we were in this group. in this room or on WhatsApp room?
No, okay, Pak Kong Min, because you are only arrived on your news only come to us this morning. So I will add you on the WhatsApp room. On the
Okay,
WhatsApp
okay.
group, sorry.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Sorry, Mr. Nair, to interrupt, but this is not because of not clear. I think we already come to the next step to make a group for tomorrow. Sorry for that. I was thinking you already finished.
Sir, I have a question, please.
Yes,
So,
Roma.
yeah, please.
So whatever activity we are going to do tomorrow morning, so what should be the age group? Are we doing the activity for kids or for an elite?
You can
What
in junior level,
junior level?
under 20,
Okay.
yeah.
Under 20. Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, everybody clear regarding for tomorrow. So you will come to the groups and depend on the event. So you will write in the WhatsApp group or maybe in the chat room now, number 1 and your name, number 2 and your name, for example. Is it clear?
I'm introducing Sri Lanka. Vertical jump.
Yeah,
What jump?
Vertical jump.
Yeah. Oh, vertical jump. Yes. 6. So you write in the group, in the WhatsApp group. Any other? I mean, if you're not clear, you can ask here to Mr. Nair or to us, ADC. But if you're clear, you just write in the WhatsApp groups.
Hello, sir.
Your name and the number. Yeah.
Hello.
Anuradha,
Hello, sir. I am Anuradha.
Anuradha, you can unmute and speak.
Mr. Aslam.
Hello,
please.
sir.
Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Aslam Hussain from Bangladesh.
Okay, sorry,
Hurdles.
Mr. Anuradha. Mr. Aslam Hussain first, please.
Hello, ma'am. I am Anuradha Nanekkar in Sri Lanka. I am a sprinting group.
Hello, ma'am.
That means you
Aslam Hussain from Bangladesh.
So you put in the groups.
You can put in
Group number 2, hurdles. Aslam Hussain from Bangladesh.
Okay. Okay. Put in the WhatsApp group the number and your name in the WhatsApp groups.
Okay. ठीक है. Thank you.
Hello.
Anuradha.
Yeah, I am sprinting. Number 1 is sprinting group.
So you can, that is the same thing Mr. Ria said. You can put in WhatsApp group.
Yeah, okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, you can start to put in the WhatsApp group now. Okay, I think clear. Thank you very much for Mr. Radhakrishnan Nair, our chief coach. So I think it's very, very detailed, very clear. And tomorrow, Mr. Nair will talk again about how to construct the microcycle. I mean, to guide you to make the microcycle, the correct microcycle, or as Mr. Nair said, that is a little bit complicated, but I think you have to try to construct the microcycle for tomorrow. So today and tomorrow morning will be the session, but after tomorrow, you will presentation with the microcycle. It's a structure of this course. So I think, thank you very much to Mr. Radhakrishnan Nair and also to Mr. Muhammad Talha and Mr. Thomas. So and so for all of you also. And tomorrow, don't forget 9 o'clock, you have to be already in the room. And Ibu Ria will break you into 8 groups. Thank you very much. And Ibu Ria, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Ria. and
Thank you.
Ms. Ria and all other ADC for bringing me to this platform. I believe that I could share some of my knowledge, and thank you so much.
Thank
Meet
you very
tomorrow.
much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Nah,
you.
yeah.
Thank you very much, Paria. And okay, so as Mr. Ria mentioned, that you can inform your event group, your event number on the WhatsApp group. So we will compile this and we will make a grouping in accordance to your event group. Okay, so please the WhatsApp group to inform your event group. Okay, so see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock Jakarta Bangkok time. Okay, so with the Zoom ID, with the same Zoom ID. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Ria. Well job.
Thank you, Laila.
Thank you, madam. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Augusto. See you tomorrow. Don't forget to inform your group number.